to Channel 2, Radio Wrens Nest, Radio Wrens Nest.
That was the first verse from the poem used by nail makers in the Black Country. A man called Wesley Perrin showed us how nails were made, how they were heated in their forge and hammered to a point. The long iron rods from which the nails were made were cut after the end had been pointed, and the cut end was bended over. Mr. Perrin showed us nails of all sizes. One was about an inch in diameter and 2 feet long. Just think of the hammer you need for that.
Conditions and pay the nail makers suffered were poor, and sometimes they rioted in the streets. When this happened, police armed with rifles and bayonets and soldiers were called in to stop the riots. The nail makers had an answer to this. They took 4 nails, heated them and welded them together. If you joined the ends together, you got a shape called a tetrahedron. Perhaps your teacher can draw one on the board.
No matter how you threw this collection of nails on the floor, it always landed with one pointed end sticking up. Because it did this every time, it was called It Is As It Was, because it always is as it was. This was shortened to Tis As 'Twas.
What's going on here, Ben? Diana, we want some more money.
A chant of coppers and coming.
Big, get the kids in the bodies.
All the car gets through them chizzy twazzies.
Hello, boy, I'm getting through there.
Everyone knows that the Wren's Nest is covered with disused limestone quarries. Tunnels have been dug below streets of Dudley so that miners can dig out stone. On another day, workmen were pumping wet sand into caverns under the hospital to prevent subsidence damaging buildings. Limestone is used in blast furnaces to help the smelting of iron or into pig iron. What is even more exciting is a tunnel carrying canal ends below the Seven Sister Caves. Limestone was carried away in barges along this tunnel. Gillian Green tried to imagine what it must be like down there. Now, Gillian.
On the inside of the tunnel, there are dead cats and dead dogs floating on the water. There are boats and rats coming out of holes in the walls. There are cracks and holes in the walls, and there is water dripping from the top of the tunnel. It drops all day long. The wall is slimy and slippery, and it's rotting away. The air is dank, and it smells. The smell makes you feel sick. It is very cold and dark when you get to the middle of the tunnel. Your voice echoes mysteriously in the tunnel. Some people say there are ghosts.
Let's talk about some of the sports and pastimes in the Black Country. Cockerel fighting was a popular but bloodthirsty sport. Cockerels naturally have spurs on their legs. Their owners used to fashion sharp metal covers for these spurs, and the fighting birds would tear each other to pieces with these. The cockerels were put in a pit that one, most likely the one that was losing, couldn't escape. Of course, the men placed bets on which birds would win. Another popular sport was to release a bull and give chase on foot or horseback.
Joseph Darby was a very famous man in this area. He would jump extraordinary distances from a standing start of a brick placed on end. He could jump over 5 chairs without knocking over any bricks. One of his favourite tricks was to jump over a stream. As he sailed over the middle, he would lower his feet onto the water, so making it look as if he bounced off the water.
If you fancied an afternoon away from the soot and grime of back streets below factories' chimneys, you could take a tram ride to the Stew Pony and then across the fields by the canal to Kimber. I doubt if the fare was more than sixpence.
Hello, what's this?
Oh, it's a birching stool.
A what?
A birching stool. It was used in Dudley right up until the 1940s on men and boys who had broken the law in some way.
It looks like a table with leather padding on the top, but it slopes off at one end.
That's right. You would lie across this on your tummy.
What's the strap for? To wallop 'em with?
Not likely. That's to tie them down to prevent them from struggling.
Well, why is it called a birching stool?
This is a birch and it was used to whack the offenders. It's made from some long thin birch twigs tied together at one end.
Ouch, just thinking of it is painful.
That was really the idea. The thought of the walloping on this was supposed to make would-be criminals think twice before committing any foul deeds. Would you like to try it?
Oh! Ah! Ah! Oh!
We welcome you to Channel 2, Radio Wrens Nest, Radio Wrens Nest.
Early one Sunday morning in a bus queue in Salop Street while four gossiping ladies gossip their heads off.
Hey, did I tell you about my son last night? He coming at 12 o'clock drunk. I said, if you're coming at 12 o'clock again, I'll pay you around. Guess what he called me? What? A silly old. I said, right till play comes in. Did you hear about the convicts who broke out of prison without their shorts off? And they've been running around Dudley as if they were in the marathon. They should be in Mexico for the Olympic Games. But I think they'll be carried on a stretcher.
Oh yes, I think they should have gone to the Olympics. My son's been in prison and broke out and they ain't found him yet. Don't you know what Ma John says to me last night? You'll never guess what he said. What did he say? Make a cup of tea, lover. I mean, he never said thing like that to me before.
No, Fred said that to me all last week. Isn't that one cheeky South said? No. Right, I put your shorts on and join in. And I go in and tell Ma Frank and he says, don't be stupid and take the dog for all. I shouted, where's my prof? I'll get him nailed up on the line.
A nagging woman came with a little lad with his hand stuck in a jar.
Yeah, Delp, you shouldn't have been so greedy after the blackberries and you fed the best fish in jar.
Well, I couldn't help myself. My nerves go, don't they?
It's a good job you fed a good flash and I sent you to bed.
Well, I was hungry one time. Can I have a sandwich afternoon too?
I do, love. I do get.
What you and Galfie done? Got me on stuck in this jar. The flipping thing will come off now.
Don't you go and start swearing.
Fred Mopson Bobby says he swallows himself names under the sun.
Yeah, they always say that about my son.
You'll be under the sun if I eat you them termites.
Ain't it horrible the things they learn to these days?
Got to go now, must get this jar off Alfie's hand.
She went straight to the front of the queue and of course they all started to shout about this.
Now listen here, go to the back of the queue before I get my fed in and he'll bash your face in.
Come on now, I'll get the coppers, they're only round the corner.
Let them get to the front because they want to rush into hospital.
I ain't gonna let her push in front of me.
This lad's got his hands stuck in the jar and he needs to go to hospital.
Oh, shut up.
Oh yes, Fred, I must agree with everything you say. Here comes the posh city gent on his way to the office.
Well, wouldn't mind marrying him for a bit of dash.
Just as he gets near the front of the queue, something in the tiles catches his eye and he stops to read it.
Here, mate. You'll just walk right to the front of this queue and you can just walk right the way back.
This shall better. You don't catch me jumping the queue like that.
Now then, young man, who do you think you're pushing around like that?
I'm pushing you around, mate.
If I had my Rolls Royce out of the garage, I wouldn't seen dead near this queue.
Oh, do you think he is, Lord Mo? Oh.
Yeah, come on, you're so faithful, mate. Come help me out.
But the people in the bus queue didn't see the bus come and go.
Hey, look!
And along comes a gentleman's chauffeur in his posh Rolls.
I'll fix the car. Good morning, James. To the office.
They drive past the people who are very annoyed.
Good morning, all.
You're
heroes of America in 1900 were famous locomotive engineers who rode in the cabs of their steam giants 10 feet above the track. They were admired by boys and girls alike. One such ogre, hero of our story, was Casey Jones. He was famous throughout America for being so punctual that people living along the track set their clocks by the Cannonball Express. Casey worked for the Illinois Central Railroad, and there was no mistaking his arrival. Casey took his whistle with him on each train, and his mournful hooting sounded the approach of Cannonball number 1.
What was it like to ride the Cannonball Express with Casey? Of course it was smoky and dirty compared with today's trains. It wasn't always a smooth ride either. Gillian Green recorded these impressions for us.
When the train starts off, it whistles and the bell clangs, making a jolly noise. When it is going along the railway lines, it rumbles, rattles and lurches once in a while. Sometimes it leaps off the rails as it roars along. Casey's train makes screeching and screaming noises as it stops. It makes you feel cold and sets your teeth on edge. It is torture through the rails.
Yes, Casey really exists. He was tall and slim with a rugged face and steel blue eyes, a cool customer if ever there was one. Our reports look back to April 30th, 1900 and take up the story of Casey Jones in its closing chapters.
It was 12:15 in the middle of the night and foggy. A man from the railhead came knocking on Casey's door. He said,
Will you drive Cannonball Express number 1 because the driver's ill?
Sure I will,
said Casey, and Cannonball pulled out of Memphis at 10 to 1, 95 minutes late.
Casey pushed his train to the limit in an effort to make up time and keep his reputation for being punctual. The 6-foot-high driving wheels strained as he did well over 100 miles an hour on the straights and 65 round the corners. He made up 90 minutes in 175 miles. Casey was only 14 miles from the end of the run at Vaughan, Mississippi, and only a few minutes late when...
Casey, look, red lights. Can't be. Another train. For Pete's sake, jump. What about you?
I'll take my chances.
Casey threw the engine into reverse and slammed on all the train's brakes. He only managed to slow Cannonball down to 35 miles an hour before he crashed. He ploughed through the last 4 wagons of a freight train, which was too long for the siding.
Sleeping in her cabin near the station that night was Margaret Buckley.
I was in my cabin and it was 5:50 in the morning. I heard the noises of the trains. I looked out of the window and I saw Cannonball and in the back of another train ready to crash. Cannonball was screeching, rumbling, rattling and lurching. Then came the crash with a big bang like something being blown up. The passengers were shaking and some were unconscious, but the brave one was killed. Casey Jones was found with a 12-inch bar through his neck, and Casey's fireman Sim was unconscious at the bottom of the embankment. Casey's wife came, and Casey Jr., as they always did. They heard of the crash, and she cried, and Sim said, Casey said there will be another Casey to take my place. Tell my wife that, and then he died.
We welcome you to Channel 2, Radio Wrens Nest, Radio Wrens Nest.
I love you. I love you like I love the day, with your eyes as dark as the night, and your lips as red as a ripened cherry, which is a very pretty sight. I love your very dark brown hair, which is a colour that matches your eyes, and when they shine in the night, they're like stars twinkling in the skies. I love you with my heart and soul, you're always a boy in my mind. I love your ways, you're so gentle and thoughtful, and oh so very kind. I love you now and I always will, forever and forever. And whatever may happen between us, I'll never forget you, never.
Present the thriller serial story The Blob Strikes. Episode 1 is called The Invasion. The people of Hampton-on-Sea are very easy to make friends with. Most of them are farmers. Hampton is a very small town and there are not many shops. There is only one park because the people have the countryside to walk around in and the seashore. There is a laboratory where great scientists work on strange things. People and important men from Parliament come here to get some peace and quiet from office work. Joe and Mabel Mayborn, their son and daughter Tom and Sandra, live on a farm near Hampton-on-Sea. They are watching the news on television.
Good morning, here is your news read by Michael Aspill. At Jodrell Bank Radio Telescope, scientists have been picking up odd space signals. They have no idea what they are, but they are going to find out as soon as possible. Now over to Andrew Gardner at Hampton-on-Sea.
Mr. Mayborn said,
"Ooh, listen, that's near here."
This is a quiet country town, but strange things have been happening. Here are two children, Sue and Stephen, and this is their story.
Well, we were playing here on the beach when we found a skin that had been shed off some sort of animal. We had a game with it, but as we moved it had no shape and moved in all directions.
Yes, and the scientists at the laboratory are working on it. It may be some monster from outer space. Thank you, Sue and Stephen. Now back to Michael Aspall in the studio.
Thank you, Andrew. Fishermen have reported seeing strange objects which seem to have come from the sky. The two fishermen were out fishing when they heard a strange bubbling noise and a splash in the water. They saw an object shining under the water and moving close to the land. It was shining just as though the sun was down there. More odd reports from the seaside. On the south coast this morning, Coast Guard sighted a fishing trawler off the shore. They sent out a boat. When they got to the trawler, they found the skeletons of the crew and captain. What can be causing all these strange things to happen? We shall be bringing you more news as it comes in. This is the end of the news for this morning.
Later that night,
It's a bad night. We ought to get the dog in jam. A bit of rain won't hurt him. He stayed out before. Okay, let's go to bed. It may stop in the morning.
in the night the dog is howling.
Wife, the dog's dead. He's been eaten. Only his bones are left. Where's Scamp the dog? I said he's dead.
Dad, where is he? I want to see him.
All that's left are his bones covered in slime. What is causing such mystery and terror? Tune in to
episode 2 and find out.
Episode 2 of The Blob Strikes is called Things Happen.
Episode 1 ends where the dog on the Mayborn's farm was killed. Only the skeleton was left. Next morning, the scientists in the lab at Hampton are studying the radar screen.
This looks like a cloud on the radar screen. It shows up every time.
We don't pick up clouds on the radar, Ian.
Well, we've got one here. Now it's vanished.
You're seeing things.
That afternoon, Joe Mayborn's nephew Mark Wayne arrives at the farm for the weekend. He has a girlfriend called Diane in Hampton-on-Sea. Mr. Mayborn and Sandra are talking.
Dad, is Mark coming to stay?
Yes, but he's going to see Diane.
Is he going to marry her?
Yes, I am when she'll say yes.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Uncle. I haven't seen you for a long time. Hello, young chap.
Hello, Mark. I'm so pleased to see you again. I'll make you a cup of tea.
Did you see that on the telly yesterday about that blob? Yes, it killed our dog. Where's your dog now? The scientists have got it. That's a shame. I did want to see it because I'm a reporter now. I am working for the Hampton Sketch. May I use your phone just to call Diane? Why, yes, you are very welcome.
It's just in the hall by the door.
Hello, Diane Wood here.
Hello, this is Mark.
Hello, Mark. I have missed you very much.
Will you come out with me for dinner tonight? I'll call for you at 8 o'clock.
Of course I will. I'm just running a bath. Will you hold on a sec?
Diane goes into the bathroom to turn off a tap. She looks at it because she sees something glistening coming out of the tap. It's getting bigger and bigger.
Diane, what's the matter? Diane, can you hear me?
Mark, it's in the bath. It's in the bath.
What's in the bath?
I think it's came out of the bathtub. Come quickly, Mark.
Diane went to turn off the tap and shut the door. When she looked, the blob was disappearing down the overflow pipe.
What's the matter, Diane? What's wrong?
In the bathroom, quickly.
Nothing in here.
Look at the glistening slime in the bath.
That night, Sandra was minding a baby. She looks at the clock as it strikes 10.
Mark should be here soon. I thought I heard Molly cry. I'll go and see if she's all right.
She opens the door and sees Molly being dragged out of the window by a lump of glistening slimy stuff. Mark arrives just at that moment.
Sandra, what's the matter?
It's got Molly with the window.
What's that? The window? Oh my God, what in heaven's name is it?
That's the question everyone is asking. Tune into episode 3 and find out. Three's thriller serial The Blob Strikes continues now with episode 3. It is called Operation Submarine.
Episode 2 ended where Mark was looking out of the window at the house where Sandra Mayborn was babysitting. He saw a blob making off with Molly, the little girl.
Oh my God, what is it?
Oh, Mark, it's taken Molly with it. I didn't know what to do.
Oh! Sandra, are you all right? Better phone the ambulance and police. I want the police and ambulance. My address is 39 Compton Street, Hampton-on-Sea.
Now, Mr. Wayne, I want to ask you a few questions. What exactly happened?
Well, I can't tell you very much, but I know it's very dangerous and liable to kill somebody else, and it might be you or me.
What about the girl? Does she know anything?
I don't think so. Not in the state she's in. I think we will have to take her in for observation.
We must tell her parents that she is going to hospital.
I will tell them, because I'm her cousin. That's if the police have finished with me.
That's all right, sir. When the girl is well, I will like her to make a statement.
So Mark returned to the farm after ringing his pipe, telling them to hold the front page for the next edition. Next morning at the Mayborn's farm, Mark is telling the family the story.
I wonder what it will do to the poor child's parents.
Well, we had better go to the hospital and see Sandra.
Uncle Joe, wait a minute. I want you to help me with my investigation.
Mark, it's no good taking the law into your own hands.
Well, someone's got to do it.
All right, I will help you.
Joe and Mark went to Molly's house and followed the slime along the road. They found it disappeared down a drain into the main sewer. Not to be put off by such unpleasant surroundings, they followed.
It does smell nasty down here. Well, a sewer does not smell like talcum powder, does it? That trail leads to the sea. Let's go back up and found the Navy at Portsmouth. That's a good idea. I've met Admiral Noakes before.
Next day, after the stories appeared on the front page of all the newspapers, especially the Hampton sketch, Mark joins Her Majesty's submarine Neptune under Captain Beresford.
And board the submarine just off the south coast.
Captain, there's something on the sonar.
What can it be? It's changing shape all the time.
It could be oil.
No, it would float if it was oil.
It's a blob. We found one.
Prepare tube 1 for firing.
Tube 1 ready for firing, sir. Range 170 yards.
Fire 1. There you can say goodbye to that.
There is a muffled explosion and the blob breaks into millions of little pieces. As the sub sails through them, the crew hear little bumping noises on the hull.
Looking at the sonar, I'd say there were thousands of small blobs now.
Yes, and they are sticking to the sub.
Captain, the controls aren't working.
Oh no! What can the blobs be doing?
What will happen to the submarine? Is the ship doomed?
Episode 4 of 2-3's thrill serial story, The Blob Strikes, is called Emergency Escape.
Mark Twain and Mr. Maybold were in Her Majesty's submarine Neptune, searching for the blob. The last episode ending where a top just blown the blob to bits. The little pieces floated towards the submarine and stuck to it, jamming the controls on the propeller.
It's getting stuffy. I think the air conditioning stopped.
Captain, what will we do now?
Signal for help. I think we may have to abandon ship. Get all the men up here at the double. Close all watertight doors. Stand by emergency escape hatches. Start flooding escape compartments. Right, Mark and Joe, you can go out first.
But I don't know how.
Just take a deep breath, and as you go up, breathe out so that your lungs don't burst.
As Mr. Maybold goes out to the emergency escape hatch, one of the blobs sticks onto his arm. The crew all escape from the sub area, but Captain Beresford is the last one out. But just as he is going to escape, a whole crowd of blobs stuck all over him. He met a dreadful end. The crew watched his skeleton fall to the seabed.
It's a good job this trawler had picked us up. I thought we'd never see daylight ever again.
He tried to pull the small blob off his hand, and it stuck all over his fingers.
This feels as though it's trying to eat me.
I don't think it is big enough for that, but we'd better get you to the lab quickly.
So at Hampton Research Labs, Steve and Ian get to work trying to find how to kill the blob.
Hurry up, get this off me.
Don't panic.
Scrape it off into this beaker.
Well, this won't hurt.
Ah!
Oh! You're lucky, Uncle. It was stuck to about 2 inches of your skin.
Why, it has no shape at all.
So Ian and Steve get to work trying things out to see if they can kill it.
Pour some acid on it.
Okay. It hasn't done anything.
Try this.
There, I bet it doesn't. No good. There, I told you.
Will they find out the mysterious blob secret? Listen to episode 5 and see.
Episode 5 of 2-3's thrill serial story, The Blob Strikes, is called Death of the Blob.
Last week, episode 4 ended where Mr. Bayborn had a bit of blob stuck onto his hand. Steve and Ian are trying to find out what will kill the blob. Let's go and join them at the lab in Hampton-on-Sea.
Someone's got to kill this thing somehow, but how?
I know, let's try some bicarbonate of soda.
Okay, but it won't kill it. It wouldn't even kill a flea.
Well, it won't hurt to try. No, this chemical won't do it. Haha, let's try distilled water.
Don't be silly, distilled water won't do it. How can you joke at a time like this?
Well, I'm going to pour it anyway.
Look at that, it's gone wild. Duck, everybody.
Look, it's vanished, just like it's been disintegrated.
Lunchtime at the Mayborns farm next day.
I'm glad they got that blob off me.
I bet it hurt when you pulled the blob off.
Didn't feel a thing.
Hey, you should have heard him yell. Right, it's time for the news on TV.
Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock and time for your lunchtime news. Scientists at Hampton-on-Sea have at last discovered how to kill the blob. They are going to kill it with distilled water.
Well, that's a relief.
But the point is, will it?
It'll be a good job when it's out of the way, but we'll never get our dog back.
That night, Mark sees a blob heading for Mayborn's farm. It seems to have developed a taste for Joe's prize herd of cows.
The blob has got your very best cow, Uncle. Phone Steve and Ian and tell them the blob's here.
Steve and Ian set out for Mayborn's farm, and when they get there...
Round the back, Steve, hurry.
Steve throws a plastic bag of distilled water at the blob and it hits it in the middle, but it turns towards Ian, Mark and Steve.
Throw another at Ian and hope that it kills it.
But Diane comes in the car and pulls up in front of the blob.
Help, Mark, the blob's coming quickly.
Mark runs to help her, but it's too late, the blob has got her.
I'll throw the last one and hope it works this time.
Got it smack on target.
What's going on here?
It's another blob.
Oh no, not again. Diane faints, but the blob begins to get smaller.
I'll get a photo of it. It'll make a great front page. The blob disintegrates.
It's all over, it's gone.
Oh, Mark, what's happening? Nothing now, Diane. It's dead. Gone forever.
Well, Tom and Sandra, it looks as though everything is going to be just fine.
All the men return to the farmhouse. Mark helps Diane, who has nearly recovered.
You had a narrow escape. Are you going to marry her now, Mark?
Yes, I am.
I still don't understand why distilled water kills it.
Ian says it is really pure water and the blob hates that, as it contains nothing it can feed on.
Well, fancy that.
Well, fancy that.
That's the end of our story. What's that? You're glad it can't never come true? How do you know it can't?
The guests in order of appearance were as follows. John Thompson was Marshal Asphalt and the submarine's petty officer. Stephen Fellows was Andrew Garner. Susan Cole and Paul Puller were children on the beach. Merrill Fellows was Mrs. Mayborn. Marshall Morgan was Mr. Mayborn. David Nichols was Tom. Sandra Fisher was Sandra. Malcolm Roon was Ian the scientist. John Griffin was Steve, his friend. Trevor Smith was Mark. Sheila Colborne was Diane. Stephen Partridge was the policeman. John Millard was the doctor and the dog. Marina Jones was the nurse. Michael Smith was the submarine captain. We are not sure who was the blob. Other members of 2-3 told the story.